So today I'm going to be reviewing the game Leo's Fortune for the PlayStation 4. I have a 6-year-old son. I got this game so that he could play it, that we could play it together, and now I'm going to offer a sort of top-down view of the game, in particular, how he responded to it. So first of all, you can tell here that it is very much like something you might be familiar with, like Angry Birds, where each board has 3 stars available to it, and unlike Angry Birds, it's not a matter of just score. In this case, the 3 stars come from completing the board without losing a life, from completing it within a certain amount of time, and then completing it by getting all of the coins, and the coins are stacked throughout the game. And what you can tell from the onset here is that my son has replayed a lot of this. It speaks well for the replayability of the game, because in the first chapter everything is 3 stars, and then you have a couple that are 2 stars in the second act. By the third act you have mostly 1 stars or maybe even no stars, and the further you get on there might be other ones with no stars, and that just shows that he is just wanting to first map out how the game is played. Completing it lets you go to the next game, but map out how it is played instead of worrying about getting all the prizes or all of the honors right away. So let's go into it at random here. So you are essentially a small, furry, mustached figure here who reacts to gravity, as in many other physics-based puzzle games. You have the ability of, with X, pressing something that allows him to float. And that same thing in puffing up, as you see here, has a lot to do with solving puzzles. The puzzle might have something to do with him being able to fluff himself up like that. And here are the coins, and you collect the coins throughout. You see I've collected a coin, and here...
some kind of puzzle.
You have, typical puzzle where you're moving things around. Physics interacts in some degree. And in here I'm seeing, okay, well, it looks maybe like I can fit into that. Oh wait, maybe this is what fits into it. Almost every surface can hold this guy up. And almost everything reacts to him. So in this case, you see, okay, well, that's probably how that's going to go in there. Great. So now figuring out a way to then release some sort of fulcrum to push that up. And several times when I'm playing it, and certainly when my son is playing it, everything takes multiple times, but you're slowly but steadily getting better. And I've played this board before, and I know Becca has played it before, and yet still you might say, oh, okay, well, I forgot what I have to do here, but it becomes pretty intuitive. There are very few of them where he had to actually ask for help.
Another puzzle.
And this is very puzzle-oriented, this board in particular. However, many of them are not. Many of them are more about obstacles than they are about puzzles. Actually... you can tell from the backdrops, see here, you have to use the fluff power to move the balls along. And the backdrops are really good, the graphics are wonderful. I got this actually at the PlayStation Store on sale, and it was very reasonably priced. Even full price, it's still a good price, based on how many hours of gameplay you have. So, I need to find some way of getting the balls further down. And see, this has where it stays essentially where it's at, but multiple things will also have some sort of loose timing system associated with it, to where you only have so much time to do something.
I solved it.
And you see, they've got a little bit of voice acting from the main guy, and he's, you know, cute enough. and goes along well with a sort of, you know, almost playful music. This one's going to be a little bit harder to show off what happens when he dies, because this one's a little bit more puzzle-based. But several of them, like I said, are almost entirely obstacle-based, so there are plenty of times where the character meets his demise. Here we go. So here, you see the coins have disappeared down the shaft here. Now if I go here, and there is finally a place where the character can die, is if he is skewered here. But you'll notice that the coins are gone. So that is, every time that you die, you still are able to maintain some of the success of what you accomplished before. Namely, in this case, in terms of both the time that it is taking you to complete the task, but also the ability to keep the coins that you've already collected, you know, without having to go back and worry about getting them again. And you'll notice there are not a lot of red herrings. There are not a lot of things that move that it doesn't matter if they move or not. It doesn't have anything to do with the puzzle. Those are rare. Most of the time it does have directly to do with the puzzle you're trying to solve, which is good for kiddos because while I don't know that it would be frustrating to have all those extra things, it certainly could prove that way. So here, I died one time, so I didn't get a star. The stars it shows are actually from previously played games, wherein I got, you know, everything but the time. So neither Beckett nor I have gotten it under the time here. But at some point in time, he went through without dying, which wasn't too hard on this board, considering there's only one place you could die. And all of the coins were pretty obvious on this one. So the only real challenge would be in a puzzle-based board, getting in under this time. And of course, he hasn't achieved that one quite yet. But the big factors here with this game are in how durable is it as a game for a 6-year-old or somewhere around that age, how appropriate is it, and seriously. And whether the game has any educational value. Now, in this case, I think that Leo's Fortune excels in all three, part of which, what I originally showed, having to do with being able to come back and replay something that you have just played and start back very near where you left off, with the advantage of having the coins still being achieved. So here okay, I screwed up, but I got the coin. Am I going to be able to make it somewhere?
Okay.
Nope, probably not. I'm going to die. Okay, so I'm not going to get the fatality star, but the coins are still there, and I started, well, that was the beginning, but it was still extremely near where I left off. So in this case, look, so I passed those things up. But let's say here I am, and I'm trying to solve this puzzle, but then I die. We're not going to start over at the very beginning. You're going to start over essentially where you left off, at the beginning of whatever the puzzle is that you're trying to solve, as opposed to some arbitrary point beforehand. So if he's having a harder time, you know, oh, well, I can't really do this one part. You're literally talking about a part that, when you look at it and figure it out, is going to take you, you know, just a couple of seconds to get past. So now I'm past it, but then he's like, oh, I had a hard time with this one, well, I fell. Well, you're going to start right back over at that point and say, okay, well, I know I've got to jump on that one and on this one because these things are going to come down. And then he has safely passed that obstacle. And now this is a, you know, could be a very challenging obstacle. So the kid doesn't really want to go and then have to return far back. But he's not going to, and therefore, say, died on those spikes, didn't even notice them. I'm right back at the beginning of the spikes, and the coins are still in my inventory, so to speak. So, durability. Something... This is not going to be played probably as much as something like Angry Birds, or something sort of as mind-numbing as that necessarily, because, well, not to disparage Angry Birds, mind you, but still, he sunk hours into this, but nowhere near the hours he would sink into, say, Minecraft, or something that isn't necessarily challenging or engaging, but is comfortable. So it's a comfortable game in that it's not punishing you for failing to complete an objective, and it allows you to go forward whether you got all the coins or not, whether you did it with speed or not, or whether you died or not. However, it still is not quite as simple and relaxing to play as some of those other games. So the result is that indeed it's not been played nearly the volume of hours that he's played those other games. Now, as far as educational goes, there's nothing in here, you know, culturally or anything like that. You know, Leo himself has this sort of this story about how his family has wanted his fortune. That's where his money has gone. But there's nothing, you know, anything about that, the storyline or the narrative itself, that is necessarily rewarding for a child. But I would say that the problem solving and just sort of the basic physics that it uses are beneficial in just sort of independent play and understanding, you know, cause and effect, you know, basic physics, and how many times they change the rules is another good thing that I think is good in an educational capacity. So all in all, especially for the fact that this is not a full-price game, it's an independent game, and I forgot what I got it for on the flash sale, but it certainly wasn't that much. So the amount of time that he's played, well, a moment about appropriateness actually is, well, you saw when he dies, you know, if he falls off a cliff, then you know, you see this flash of red. Nothing, you know, you might have Leo say, you know, some remark, or ow, or something like that, or something where he's sort of, you know, saying, oh man, that's, you know, kind of like he's saying it's a bummer. And if he is, if he instead of falling is, you know, goes and hits some spikes or something like that I'll show. Here's some spikes. Then there's nothing gory about it at all. It's the same flash of red. So there certainly was nothing that had Beckett, and he's probably been playing since he was 5. He's 6 now, playing this since he was 5. Nothing to indicate that he was disturbed by that at all. So I'd say the appropriateness is perfectly fine for essentially any age. There was nothing that he found disturbing or that caused him to not want to do it, or obviously if something had a character that died in some fantastic fashion, or that even had something to indicate disappointment, that a child might not want to play that because he doesn't want to have the character, you know, essentially be disappointed. But there was nothing like that in this game. So there's for the appropriate angle. So all in all, an excellent game. I certainly would have had him playing this at 3 and 4 as well. We just happened to buy it when he was 5, and he has done really well with it, and nothing but positive things to say about it himself.